This story begins at a specific set of coordinates, the north entrance of the Meenakshi Amman temple in Madurai. For decades, a 60-year-old man named Periyasamy operated a minimal commercial footprint here. He sat on the pavement with a small yellow cloth, selling basic stationery, pens, pencils, erasers, and compasses. Periyasamy followed a strict business rule. If a student arrived needing a pen for an exam, he would hand them a high-quality one for free. He told them to pay only after they returned to report their marks. The immediate outcome was mathematically predictable. The children took the pens, ran to their schools, and the vast majority never returned to settle the 10 rupee debt. While this looks like simple charity, in a setting where every rupee dictates survival, Periyasamy was actually running a high-risk financial experiment that defied basic economic logic. His wife, Tungam, served as the voice of financial reality. She repeatedly pointed out that they couldn't pay rent or buy food while he was effectively giving away his only inventory. To track the mounting deficit, Periyasamy kept a physical diary. He meticulously recorded every date, name, and item provided. Next to every single entry, he wrote the same status, pending. This graph tracks the accumulating loss over 20 years. 3,000 pending entries eventually created a deficit of 30,000 rupees, a significant sum for a pavement vendor. When confronted with these numbers, Periyasamy argued that these weren't lost debts. He viewed each entry as a long-term investment that had simply not yet reached maturity. This ledger forces a question about the nature of value. Periyasamy was betting on a variable that a standard balance sheet cannot calculate, the future earning potential of a student. 2 decades later, Periyasamy is 80 years old. His physical capital is spent, his eyesight is failing, and his hearing has weakened. Technological shifts have rendered his inventory obsolete. Students have moved to gel pens and digital learning, leaving the yellow cloth with no customers. Objectively, the investment portfolio appears to have crashed to zero. The pavement business is gone, and his wife's warnings about bankruptcy seem to have been realized. Then, a modern luxury car stops at the dusty temple entrance. A smartly dressed executive steps out and walks past the temple crowds and falls at the feet of the blind vendor, asking if he is remembered. A 20-year-old entry in the pending column has just returned to its point of origin. Murugan describes a specific morning 18 years ago. He was a student facing a public math exam with a broken pen and no replacement money. Periyasamy had handed him a single lucky pen, removing the panic that stood between Murugan and his exam paper. That pen allowed Murugan to score a 98, which secured his college admission and eventually led to the founding of his software firm, Penna Technologies. Murugan hands over an envelope to settle his original 10 rupee debt. Inside is a check for 10 lakhs, 1 million rupees. This wasn't a gift, it was a payout. Murugan was providing the actual return on a 2-decade-old investment, calculated with massive compounding interest. Local news of the 10 lakh payout acted as a catalyst. The story triggered a massive response from the other individuals recorded in the old diary. For a week, a line of professionals formed at the temple gates. Auditors, Hindi teachers, doctors, and engineers arrived to finally settle their childhood accounts. As 3,000 success stories returned to settle debts, the math changed. The 30,000 rupee deficit was replaced by a 30 million rupee return. This spike represents a 100,000% yield, generated by the students Periyasamy bet on. Periyasamy looked at his wife and explained that these entries were never debts, they were seeds. He had sowed them with concern, and they had grown into a forest of capability. Today, the yellow cloth on the pavement has been replaced by a permanent, rent-free brick-and-mortar shop, the Periyasamy Pen Store. The store still provides free pens to students sitting for exams. Often, the man behind the counter is Murugan, the software CEO, who leaves his office twice a week to personally hand them out. That 10 rupee pen served as a bridge. By clearing the panic of a broken tool, it allowed the students' preparation to actually reach the page, removing the last barrier between them and the marks they had earned. This story suggests that when you invest in human potential without demanding an immediate return, you are never poor. You are simply holding the most powerful, high-yield asset in the world.